Good morning, it's Karen from Simply Living for Him, here to do my daily devotion for the day. Hopefully this will be the last time you hear about birds because we're going to be moving on to a different subject in our school. But as you guys know, we've been studying birds, and it just is such a mind-blowing thing to study something that is all around us, right? We see birds all the time, we hear them in the background all the time, but when we're actually studying them in our school, they're fascinating. But what we studied this week was migration. And to see God in birds and their migration is just incredible. So Google birds and migration because you will be blown away by these birds. No one teaches them. And when they are born, they just know to go at a certain time of the year and fly to another place where it's warm and where they can find food. And then at the end of the season, they can go back to their original nest. Okay, hear this. Thousands of miles away. Some of these birds that they studied don't stop flying for 88 hours. They have to store up enough food supply in their bodies, to make that trip because they lose 50% of their body weight in those 3 days. It's mind-blowing. And the scientists cannot explain bird migration. Sure, they can try to say birds actually do use a lot of different methods. They've discovered, the stars in the sky, the weather, the different things, but none of that can really explain flying over the ocean, flying for 3 days without stopping. And they've done experiments where they tried to, so here's where I want to get into our Bible verse. So they've tried to get the birds off course, to kind of pinpoint what gets them back on course, because they will return to the exact same nest thousands of miles away on a different continent. And so even when they try to get them off course to make them, not have whatever they thought was guiding them, they still found it. And so that can only be explained by God, because migration is truly a miracle. If you read about it, it's just, there's no way. And so it's just such a picture of God. And he gives us these things to show us that he's real and to show us that he created us. And so I was thinking about that and just thinking about what a miracle that is and how it's a picture of us. God has created us with instinct to follow him, because it says he set eternity in our hearts, right? And that all of us, as it says in Romans, God has not left us abandoned to not show us himself. First of all, in nature and all these things, but there is an inner part of us that knows there's a creator. And so we know what it says in Romans 1. It says, starting in verse 20, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal powers and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse. So there's no excuse. You can't say, well, this person never was able to know about God because, there wasn't somebody there to tell them. He himself puts it in us. And so it says, although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking and foolish in their hearts, and they were darkened. So, people get off course. We're created like the birds. We're created to kind of seek after him. And yet we do get off course. We do get distracted. We do follow other things and get disoriented. These birds, they orient themselves back to where they're supposed to go. But as humans, we get disoriented and we follow the wrong things, or we make the world, things of the world, an idol, and we don't follow him. And we deny the truth of our creator. If you look around the world is just like Romans 1 here. They're worshiping the creation and not the creator. They have made themselves their own little gods. They don't need to worship the one true God. They're worshiping themselves, the things around them, the creation, the worldly things. And so let's be like those birds. Let's not let the world disorient us. Let's not get off course. Let's do what we're created to do, to bring glory to God, to follow Him. Let's not get distracted. Our lives can be, my life is a miracle that I follow God, because I lived disoriented. I lived, not following the way. But there was always this little voice deep down that I knew that there was something bigger than me. I knew I had a creator. And then when somebody came in and told me about Jesus, and I opened the Bible, and it all made sense. And so that to me is a miracle, just like the birds and their migration. If we can make it through this world without getting distracted, without getting disoriented, with keeping our eyes fixed on what we were created to do, to follow the one true God, then we can be a testimony, a living miracle, just like those birds in migration. So I hope this encouraged you today. Let me know what you think. If you knew anything about the birds and their migration, and if not, go look it up. It's really cool. So I hope this encouraged you today. If it did, let me know. And until the next time, I wish you all the blessings and joy in Jesus today.